Wake up 502. It is going down on a beautiful Saturday morning here in the Ville. This is your boy Raashaan Myers, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio, WXVW. And I'm so excited to be here in the captain's chair this morning talking to you. We have so many things to get into, so many things to talk about. Louisville football is out there for ACC Media Days. So we have audio and sound that I am currently looking forward to get going for this morning. We have Jeff Brom talking about the upcoming season and his thoughts and feelings on scheduling and, you know, what they need to do to get to the finish line this year properly. So we have all types of things happening. You know, we got all that going on. We have, the summer league still going strong. Michael Brown Jr. Doing big things. Ryan Conwell doing big things as well. Just so many things happening in the world of locally focused athletics in terms of U of L, in terms of U of L alumni. You have the TBT coming up today. Have that going on. So we have just an absolutely chock full show. We have a special guest coming on at the bottom of this hour. So we'll have those things talking about. Of course, Bourbon Barbecue and Mayhem is going to be coming up the end of next month. So, of course, we're ramping up for that as well. Also, at the end of the month, I guess wouldn't be necessarily the end of next month, but the very start of September, of course, we have the kickoff of Louisville football in Nashville. We're going to be down there with you guys. So just so many things that are happening, so many things that are going on. I am just ecstatic about all of it, and we're here to talk with you about all of those things. But before we get going into the sports full bore, I have to, this is one of those things where when you have a radio show, and of course, 502-414-1450, that is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Want to hear from you this morning on any of your thoughts about anything happening that we discuss, or if there's just something that you want to get off your chest that you've been waiting until Saturday morning talking to Raashaan Myers that you want to talk about. I would love to hear from you. So, of course, you can give me a text in. And you can, you know what, if you want to give me a call, Jay Has gives me a call every morning. My special guest is going to give me a call. We have some callers, not a call-heavy show. I know because Rutherford doesn't really do the calls that people may think that the call-in line doesn't work. Call-in line absolutely works. You can absolutely give a call in. 502-384-1450. That is the Call Your Law Office hotline. You can feel free to give me a call, and we can chop it up. I do not mind that. Haven Harrington is out running around. I told Haven Harrington I'm about to auction off, a special guest co-host. So, you all let me know if that's a good idea, if I should start having like a special guest co-host in here every Saturday morning, because y'all know I can talk. So, I can talk all morning without problem and talk about plenty of things, but I know sometimes maybe people don't want to just hear my voice. So, if you all think it might be a good idea to just start having like special guest co-hosts to chat with, I'm down with that. If you like just hearing my voice and then the occasional voice of, Haven or whoever else that may come in from time to time. Of course, I want to get Romy Bean back here. Roman Kelly has not been in here for a while, and I'd love to talk with him about everything going on with NBA free agency as well as the summer league. But you all have to let me know. Like, would you like to hear some, maybe some special guests? I can start working on that. So whatever have you, I'll take that. And of course, we're also going to take your messages if you have questions on X, you have questions on Facebook, you have questions on YouTube. Those are open as well. Those chats are open, so feel free to get into it with me. But before we do all that, y'all, I just have to say, so I don't know how many of you guys have heard of the movie. I'm sure you have heard of the movie Obsession, right? Super, super successful, what they call micro budget film, okay, which basically a micro budget film is a film that was had a budget of under $1 million. Okay, so in terms of when you're talking about making a movie, one of the cheapest box office quote unquote movies you can make. Less than less than $1 million. I think they said the full budget was like $750,000. Okay, Obsession has taken the world by storm. It did excellent at the box office. It's the highest grossing movie made for less than $1 million in history, beating out some movie from 1973. I can't remember exactly what movie it was, but it was some movie from 1973 that I'm pretty sure I've seen. But Staying Alive, maybe. But for a movie that cost less than $1 million to make, highest grossing film ever, was super popular. Well, y'all, last night it dropped on Peacock Network, and while your boy did not go out to the movie theaters to see it, one thing y'all may not know about me: I love horror movies, I love scary movies, I love psychological thrillers. Love them. I know some people that's their cup of tea, other people don't. But I love them. So Obsession is a movie I've heard a lot about. I've also heard a lot about the movie Back Doors. I have not seen Back Doors yet, but I am definitely wanting to check that out as well. But Obsession dropped onto streaming last night. Friday was the first day that it was on streaming. So me and my lady friend decided to watch it, right, and check it out, see what it was all about last night. Hey, let me tell you something. I can see why people loved that movie. It was very, very good. Anna Navarrete, I believe, is the young lady's name who plays like the crazy chick in the movie. She did an excellent job. It was very good. It was very old school, right? Like it was like, to me, and this was what I was going to share, and I want to get you guys' opinions just because your thoughts on it. I know, not everybody watches the scary movies and watches the horror stuff, but for me, I this is my opinion, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. But there was no monster in the movie. There was no gore for the most part. There wasn't just disgusting people blowing up or getting chopped up or anything crazy like that. But a lot of fear mongering, a lot of expectation of uneasiness, and just wondering when something was going to happen, and a few well placed scares, jump scares, things of that nature. But that type of movie, in my personal opinion, is the scariest type of movie, right? Like, some people believe it's like a Freddy Krueger, it's like a Jason Voorhees, it's something, a monster coming to get you, aliens ripping you apart, or, stuff like that. But for me, the psychological thriller, the one where it's just normal people, but normal people that are just crazy or insane or something, that you just don't know, where it's just people doing something to other people. To me, I think that is the peak that's the peak cinema. That's the peak genre. Like that to me builds more dread, more fear, more genuine angst than anything else. Like, to me, monsters aren't real, so I'm not worried about, Jason walking down the street, just walking and I'm running, but he just seems to keep catching up, or Freddy coming into my nightmares. Like, all that stuff is fine and good. It's awesome cinema. But to me, when you just have just pure, just crazy people that, like, I don't know what you gonna do, that to me is the best. Those are the best. They build the best horror. I just feel like the emotions that you get, the responses you get. To me, I think that's the best. But I definitely want to give that movie 2 thumbs up. If you have not had the chance to watch it, definitely check it out. Like I said, the name of the movie is Obsession, and it was just really good. It was really good. I was freaking out. I don't mind being scared. Like, that's one of the things that I enjoy. I like watching the movie and getting scared, and, oh, what is that? And, oh, what's going on? And what's going to happen next? Like, I love that. I love that, the energy, the endorphin release, like whatever you want to call it. I love all of that. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It was very good. It was very well done. I can definitely see why it made a lot of money. I believe they said on that movie that had a $750,000 budget, they have now made over $400 million on that film. The young lady who starred in it only got paid $20,000, y'all. Like, that's insane that she got paid literal peanuts for that. I know she was a virtual unknown, but for her performance, and I know she's going to parlay that into bigger roles and bigger opportunities. But man, she she played that role. She made that whole movie, and it's just very interesting and awesome to see that they're still like that. It just reminded me of an old school thriller, like A Hand That Rocks the Cradle, right? Or Single White Female, or you name your Thin Line Between Love and Hate, or any of those movies from back, Basic Instinct, those types of movies where you don't have any monsters, you don't have anything, but the way they build the uneasiness and just the what's going to happen and the anxiety of it, the way they build that up, it's just awesome. And I'm a huge movie guy, and during the off season, y'all know that this is pretty much the only time that I get to do any of these things and watch any of these movies. And because once the sports season gets here, I'm locked in. I'm watching everything, and I don't have really much time to go out there and watch these movies. So I get all this done during my 2 to 3 months during the summer. It's pretty much the only time I'll watch all my series. I'll watch all my movies. I just finished Spider Noir, the Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse movie with what's my guy's name? Can't think of his name. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is playing Spider-Man it's almost like a setting like the 1920s, 1930s, black and white. Very good show, by the way, on Prime Video. So you should definitely check that out as well. But this is the time when I watch all my shows, right? I get caught up on all my shows. If there's anything that I want to watch, that's what I do during the off season. I try to, I still am watching all the sports, but I try to do all my non-sports stuff now. So, just definitely want to say check that out if you haven't had the opportunity to check it out. And for sure, you will enjoy it. I don't think there's any doubt about. There's a lot. Oh goodness, I'm up here. Got sorry about that, y'all. That was my phone being loud with me talking about me. But those types of things are just very cool to me. I really enjoyed it. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that and just give you a little bit of off topics on there. Just FYI. But I do have some audio from all the things that Jeff Brom said. He had several interesting interviews. He had a lot that he talked about. He talked about his expectations. He talked about his things that he wants to see happen, things that he wants to accomplish, how he's going to figure out how to get Louisville to finish this coming season. So, very interesting. This is one of the things that I thought was super interesting, kind of talking about, just kind of in general about Louisville. So let's just hear this. I'm trying to figure out exactly which clip I want to play first, but let's go ahead and just listen to this clip where Jeff Brom kind of discusses the offseason about what he's got coming for Louisville football.
Hey, Coach, a lot of people had you in the running for the Penn State job. How did you block out that noise, and then what about Louisville keeps you at home and so happy?
Well, I think there's a lot of great programs and things like that happening through the year always I'm in a great position now to be where I'm from, where I went to school. The football program has not won a championship at the highest level, and that's always our goal. And it's not easy, but you've got to, have that as one of your goals, and if you can find a way to do that, I think it could be really special. So we're going to work hard to do that. I think we have a good football team. I think we have a great fan base, a tremendous stadium, an outstanding city to play football in. So we have a lot of key ingredients that you need. We just have to find a way to get to that point.
Coach Brown?
So, yeah, I mean, Jeff Brom, of course, addressing all of the offseason hullabaloo and everything that was going on. The rumors of Penn State, the rumors of so many things, that were going on this past year, and all of the thoughts of will he stay, will he go? He's definitely bullish about what Louisville can be and what they can get accomplished this year. So I thought that was interesting. Here's him talking about what Louisville needs to do to take that next step.
Well, without question, you want to play as well as you can in the conference, and we did. We lost some close games, you have to find a way to win those. And, do I think they were good opponents? Yeah, they were. But at the same time, those are games that you need to find a way to win, and we're going to work hard at that. But to me, you have to bring your best, and you have to play good football. For us, I think there's great parity. So every week you've got to play really good football, or you're not going to win. I think our players understand that. I think we've identified some things we did not do well in those games that maybe could have helped us win. But when you look at it, we've won some close games too. So I just think, every week in college football, for the most part, you've got to play your best football to win, and hopefully we can work hard to be as consistent as we possibly can be.
So, like, for me, that one right there, you guys know that I have not talked a ton of football this offseason. And you know that I personally am one who is kind of taking the quote-unquote wait-and-see approach. I know some people will say just, I'm kind of sitting with my arms folded, waiting to see, and you're going to have to prove it to me. I don't want to say that I'm arms folded, but I am definitely going to just have to see this team on the field. I'm not really making any sort of, I'm not making any sort of predictions for what Louisville can be this year. If you were to ask me what my thoughts on what's going to be the record for Louisville, I'm probably going to say 8-4. I'm probably just going to say that. I'm just going to give you the 8-4 because that's kind of what Louisville's been in the regular season for the last several years. So, do I think that Louisville can be better than that or should be better than that? That absolutely is a thing that probably should be happening. But, I just, until I see Louisville do it, they're just going to have to prove it to me. And that's where I'm at with it. Honestly, I don't really have a thought or an opinion on a lot of that stuff. I think they have the team to do it, right? Like I am very confident that Louisville has the talent to get it done. But let's just be honest. Like this is what been what Louisville football's been, right? They've been a team that has been very talented, but they've been held back by either, in my personal opinion, a quarterback in year one. They were held back by defense in year two, and they were held back by a quarterback in year three. And while those are true statements, I do think that, there were opportunities for better coaching decisions and opportunities for better execution, both in terms of play calls as well as just general decision making. That just wasn't there, whether it be time management, whether it be just understanding the time and score type situations. Like to me, the critical thinking was just not great all the time. but there is a lot to be excited about, right? You know, you return Isaac Brown for a third season. You have Keywan Brown back for a third season. You bring over big time playmakers like this next guy that we're going to hear about in Trey Richardson, and there's plenty to be excited about on both sides. But let's hear about what Jeff Brom feels about his new pass catcher, Trey Richardson, transfer wide receiver from Vanderbilt.
Some guys that we may not hear about right now that we think as this season progresses, we're going to know who those names are that you're really excited about on your football team.
I would say on offense, Trey Richardson's a receiver from Vanderbilt we got as a transfer who was out all spring with an injury, but he's back now and he can run. And as you know, speed it's hard to coach.
So good returner too.
Oh yeah, he can do that. So we got to get him the ball. He's gonna need to have 80+ catches for us and 10+ touchdowns. We took a transfer receiver, LaWayne McCoy, out of Florida State, who finished really strong in the spring. He's got to come through for us. Trayshawn Hurry didn't play a whole lot last year. He's a transfer, but he sat behind Chris Bell. But he's really had a good camp. Those three guys really got to make plays for us up the field. We've improved the tight end position. Are they going to make a ton of plays up the field? I'm not for sure yet, but I think we'll be more consistent there. But creating big plays on the outside on offense is going to be critical for us.
So, did y'all hear what that man said? He said Trey Richardson needs to have 80+ catches, 10+ touchdowns this year. I don't know if y'all know this, but in college football, that's a lot of usage. And like the fact that he's like Jeff Brom is going all in on Trey Richardson. He feels like Trey Richardson. If Trey Richardson, I'm just going to tell y'all this right now. If Trey Richardson has 80+ catches and 10+ touchdowns, dude's going to be first team All ACC. He's probably going to be possibly a first team All American at that point. And if he reaches those milestones, Louisville should be in the playoff. So if that's true, that Trey Richardson's going to go out and have 80+ catches and 10+ touchdowns, I don't know what the receiving numbers for the best wide receivers for Louisville football have been over the last the first 3 years under Jeff Brom. But I've got to think, his best receiver, I don't know if they've totaled those numbers in the first 3 years that Coach has been here, but like that's just big time praise. Like that's 80 catches and 10+ touchdowns. He's not shying away from it, and if Coach Brom feels that way, then obviously Trey Richardson is a guy who he believes can get that done. Just to give you what example of what I'm talking about. You talk about the elite receivers for Louisville over the first 3 years under Jeff Brom. So last year, Chris Bell had an awesome season, ended up as a second-round draft pick. Just super, super talented receiver with big-time potential. Chris Bell last year had 72 catches and 6 touchdowns, okay? Let's go back to year 2 under Jeff Brom. Year 2 under Jeff Brom, let's see. Okay, ESPN was being a little slow, but year 2 under Jeff Brom, number 1 receiver, guy who was excellent big play receiver down the field, really was the anchor for everything that Tyler Shuck wanted to do. That was Ja'Cory Brooks. Ja'Cory Brooks had 61 catches and 9 touchdowns. So he got a little bit closer on the total touchdown margin, but had only 61 catches, but of course he was a deep play threat that could just, take the top off of defense and make big plays, but only had 61 catches. Jeffrey says 80 catches for Trey Richardson. Okay, so let's go to first year. Jack Plummer's number 1 man, Jamari Thrash, 63 catches, 6 touchdowns. So once again, not in that neighborhood. So from what I'm hearing with Jeff Brom saying that, is he saying that Trey Richardson's the best wide receiver that he's had in his, time here? And now his 4th year, Trey Richardson's going to be the best wide receiver that he has had as the Louisville head coach? I mean, those are the expectations that it feels like he's placing on him. So, You know, that's what it sounds like. That's crazy. I mean, you know, that is just a high praise. 80 plus catches and 10 touchdowns. Just that jumps off the page to me. Just in terms of what Trey Richardson can be, and Trey Richardson definitely comes over from a Vanderbilt program that had an excellent year last year, and he was dominant in the SEC and dominant in some big games. People talk about his speed. People talk about his change of pace. People talk about his ability to kind of get in and out of his breaks and really move, and his ability in the punt return game. I mean, it sounds like he's going to give you a lot of what Colin Lacey gave you last year in terms of being able to impact the game both as a receiver as well as a kick returner. But it sounds like he's going to be almost a combination of what you had in Chris Bell and Colin Lacey last year. Colin Lacey had a great year. He had 60 catches, only 2 touchdowns. But, of course, having to split the focus of the carries with Chris Bell, that makes it a little bit more difficult to put up huge numbers. I think that Colin Lacey, had Chris Bell not been there, maybe Colin Lacey gets to that 80 catch plateau. But he definitely, that is high praise just to hear those numbers out there. So Jeff Brom definitely believes in what Trey Richardson can be. He was not healthy in the spring, so he really didn't participate in spring camp. But of course, he's been healthy, I believe, since at least late May, early June, and he's been back with the team. So obviously, Jeff Brom has loved what he's seen with Trey Richardson during offseason camp and the limited practices that they have before they get into fall camp, in earnest coming up in a couple of weeks. But that's huge expectations. I just don't think that Jeff Brom throws those numbers around lightly. Like, he'll talk about guys expecting them to step up and thinking that they'll have a great impact, and talks about their talent. But when he puts numbers like that out there, he's expecting big things. So I think that he feels like, Trey Richardson can be possibly the best wide receiver that he's had at the University of Louisville. I just thought that was super, super interesting from Coach Brom. It was interesting to hear him just kind of, be that bullish on a guy, to put it out there. So that was just a few of the comments from Coach Brom. I think that there's a lot of expectation. I think there's no more excuses. I understand that you lose your defensive coordinator, but the fact is you brought back a lot from that defense. Particularly in Clev Lubin and what he's going to bring. So when you have those returning guys, you bring in some talented guys like a Tyler Thompson. You retain basically your whole linebacker core, which was very, very good. You retain some standouts in the secondary, as well as bring in some top flight transfers as well. There's honestly, no more excuses. But I tell you what, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take our break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, I believe we're going to have a guest coming and joining us. So we'll talk about that and much, much more. This is Wake Up 502, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, and we'll be back on the Big X. segment number 2. Wake up 502, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio. Can't go wrong with the Bee Gees on a Saturday morning, y'all. Making sure y'all are moving and grooving this morning, getting your Saturday started off right. We have so many things going on. Still awaiting our special guest to come on. Of course, are going to chat with you, hopefully, about upcoming events that we will be involved in, but still awaiting that phone call. So we will just continue to talk Louisville football until that happens. I have so many things happening. ACC Media Days rolling strong in Charlotte. Louisville football, putting their best foot forward. And one of the guys that's going to be charged with putting their best foot forward, a guy who has, in my personal opinion, more pressure on him than anybody that's going to touch the field for University of Louisville football. And that would be one quarterback, Lincoln Kienholz, the transfer quarterback from the Ohio State University, charged to be the man to take over, to take the reins. This is the dude that, for me, y'all, I am going to be paying most attention to. It was, in my personal opinion, a very controversial selection to tab Lincoln Kienholz, a guy who has never been a starting quarterback, has never produced at all at any sort of level. He came out with, he was a 5-star prospect out of high school, has all of the accolades in terms of high school recognition, but has not done it at the collegiate level as of yet. And coming off a year where Jeff Brom had a controversial selection in Miller Moss, because he was a guy who got benched at USC because of, some issues that I feel like we kind of saw why Miller Moss got benched once he got here. So coming off of a year where Jeff Brom had a questionable guy at quarterback, for him to go out there and basically say that he believes in Lincoln Kienholz and what he can be, sight unseen and without any sort of actual physical, tangible evidence that he could be the man, to put the ball in his hands over a young man like Deuce Adams, who had spent 2 years in the program. He was hand-selected out of high school from Jeff Brom, had 2 years of learning the system and preparation to get ready, and basically Brom chose Lincoln over Deuce Adams because, it felt like Deuce Adams was going to be the incumbent, the heir apparent, and, this is the guy that Jeff Brom wanted to go with. And, I was not surprised that Jeff Brom went out there into the transfer portal to get a quarterback, but I thought he would have gotten a proven guy with proven numbers and proven ability. In my personal opinion, it has felt like in the first 3 years under Jeff Brom, in my personal opinion, I feel like any quarterback in the nation that's in the transfer portal would love to play for Jeff Brom. So much so that, there was a lot of talk and conversation that for, the eventual Heisman Trophy winner and national championship winning quarterback at Indiana University, Fernando Mendoza, wanted to come to Louisville and play at Louisville, but he was not going to be able to get to Louisville until the summer. And it was talked about that Miller Moss was selected because Moss was going to be able to come in January, go through the full fall camp. Now, that's just, what has been said, and you can look at that as rumor or whatever and say that it wasn't really going to happen. But the most interesting thing that Jeff Brom has done since he has been the coach at the University of Louisville is that he's chosen guys, in my personal opinion, and even though Tyler Shuck turned out to be an excellent quarterback and showed why Jeff Brom went out there and got him and has now become the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, Jeff Brom's selections at the quarterback position, like to me, when Coach Brom became the coach and the head coach of the University of Louisville, I thought that he was going to go out there. And one thing you were going to do is go out there and get one of the elite quarterbacks. If you're going to go in a transfer portal, you were going to get one of the best 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the portal, because what quarterback would not want to play for Jeff Brom? His track record for developing guys, his track record for being able to get guys to the next level and guys that are going to have success. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? So I thought that year in and year out, if Jeff Brom was going to go to the portal, he was going to get one of the best guys. But that really hasn't been the case. He took, a Jack Plummer, who was a middling quarterback in the Pac-12 at California, a guy who was, had his good and bad. I'd say almost an average quarterback. Same thing with Tyler Shuck, a guy who was talented, but, injured at Oregon, injured at Texas Tech, had this injury history, so was kind of a so-so mid-level, middling quarterback in the transfer portal. And now Miller Moss, same thing, kind of a middling quarterback, got benched by his head coach. The quarterback, it really has felt like Jeff Brom has decided to take kind of your reclamation projects or incomplete products, almost, I don't want to call them broken dolls or anything, but definitely scratch and dent type quarterbacks, and just believe that his ability to coach them up and his ability to get them prepared necessitated that he didn't have to go out and get one of the best quarterbacks in the portal because he could get them to where they needed to be. And to Jeff's credit, all three of those guys had by far their best year under Jeff Brom. So, I'm not taking anything away from him. I mean, Jack Plummer, for all his faults, got University of Louisville to the ACC championship game in year one for University of Louisville football and Jeff Brom at Louisville. Tyler Shuck was one of the best quarterbacks in college football in his second year, and it honestly was more about the defense letting Louisville down than anything. And then in year three, Miller Moss had his best year as a quarterback, but, it was also Miller Moss that, in my personal opinion, held Louisville back from getting where they needed to. So with those three, vastly different outcomes, and the fact that in my personal opinion, 2 of the 3 years at Louisville, the quarterback did more to hold Louisville football back. I thought that Jeff Brom, if he was going to look outside of the program, he was going to probably try to look for more of a sure thing. If you were going to go in and bring in another top flight transfer quarterback, I thought that you were going to go and get somebody that you knew could get it done. So the fact that he tabbed Lincoln Kienholz as the guy, as another guy without any, and this guy has the least amount of track record of any of the 3 quarterbacks that Jeff, now being the 4th. He has much less proven commodity than any of the guys. So this guy honestly is the biggest mystery in Jeff Brom's 4th year, and in kind of a do or die, make it or break it season, to bring in a guy that is completely unproven. It's a choice, and it is very interesting. But that just speaks to where Jeff Brom obviously feels like Kienholz is a guy who has the talent. He lost out to Julian Sayin last year at Ohio State, and of course Julian Sayin, as a freshman, was one of the best quarterbacks in college football, was a Heisman Trophy finalist, I do believe, and was really good. But at the end of the day, Kienholz has lost out for the job 3 straight years. He was a guy who basically another guy has been picked over him 3 years at Ohio State. So when that happens, the question is, if he's gotten, there's been another guy that's been better than him every year he's been there, how good is he? And this is interesting because this was his response about just the pressure of being the quarterback at the University of Louisville and being the guy to kind of captain, Louisville's offense. He was speaking with Eric Crawford and WDRB.
Yeah, I think there's always pressure just playing quarterback anywhere. The ball touches your hands every single play, and you're expected to make the right play all the time. So I think there's a lot of pressure with that, but at the same time, pressure's a privilege. So I'm sure there's a lot of people around the country that want my job, that want other players' jobs, and at the end of the day, you still have to remember that you got put in this position for a reason, and coaches believe in you, teammates believe in you, so you might as well go out and just go play football.
So that's just the long and short of it. Is like he understands the pressure that's on him. He understands what's going to be expected of him, and he's just got to go out there and perform. And the young man has been known, for as much as he hasn't played, he's been known as a player that will leave it all out there on the field. He's a guy that plays with a fearlessness and an aggressiveness and a leadership, a leadership type of component that is second to none. And that's been what's said about him. And to his credit, He signed a six-figure NIL deal with Adidas just within the last few days to be a brand ambassador. So, Adidas believes in the young man's talent. Adidas is putting their money where their mouth is in terms of believing that Lincoln Kienholz can be be a guy that can be a difference maker and is going to be a difference maker for Louisville football. I mean, the young man had a lot of hype at Ohio State, and he had a lot of people that kept talking about this is going to be the guy that's going to take over, and this is going to be the guy who's the next one up. And then, of course, you get a Julian Sayin there, and Sayin's talent is just undeniable. So that ends up not happening. So I guess we'll just have to find out. We'll see. I'm not trying to say that the young man can't be that good, but all I'm saying is like, it's a lot of pressure, man. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of angst for a guy that needs to be out there. It's wild. I don't know. I just we'll see. We shall see. Look, I'm not saying, look, people say that, well, you sound like you don't believe in him. And I'm not saying that, y'all. Like, that is definitely not saying that Lincoln Kienholz is not going to be good. All I'm saying is it's a huge gamble. And I feel like, is there anybody who can debate me on the fact that Jeff Brom going this route is a humongous gamble? Taking a completely unknown commodity, even if he does have a lot of hype, making that decision to go in that direction, just to me seems like a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a gamble. I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know, but one of the guys that's going to help him a lot, and this is a guy that I definitely, want to, Louisville is going to be, this is going to be the guy that is going, if Louisville's going to be big time, Clev Lubin, what that defense is going to be able to do to take pressure off the Louisville offense, that's going to be where it happens. And that's going to be like, to me, Louisville's going to be a defensive-led football team this year. Or you would hope that they are. So you take pressure off of a Kienholz. You take pressure off of Isaac Brown to just not have to be great day in and day out and just, healthy, snap in and snap out. It's going to be that defense because I believe, even though Ron English is no longer with the program as he stepped away to do some other things, that defense has as much or more talent than it has had since Jeff Brom has been at the University of Louisville. And Clev's going to be a big part of that. Here's a little bit about what Clev said about returning to Louisville and bypassing the NFL.
Going to the NFL is obviously a big dream for anybody who plays the sport. But I just felt like when I made a few calls and I spoke to a few people, and I felt like coming back for another year wouldn't be a terrible thing, being that I could continue to develop as a player, continue to develop as a teammate, and just grow. So when I get to the position to be in that locker room and be one of those guys that I know it all, I know the film, I know how to prepare myself, I know how to take care of my body. So taking this extra year, I think it's definitely going to help me grow in that aspect of really being ready. Just when I step my foot in there, I can have an immediate impact.
So, for me, like Clev Lubin, I totally did not expect that young man to come back and play another year of college football. Dude was as disruptive a defensive player as there was in the ACC. He was so consistent, not only in terms of pass rushing and getting to the quarterback, but when he didn't get to the quarterback, being able to get hands up, bat down balls. His awareness was off the charts. His ability to tackle in the run game and, tackle running backs. Clev Lubin did it all as a defensive lineman. And even though he's slightly undersized, he's probably going to be looked at as more of a 3-4 outside linebacker or an edge rusher in a more of a base standard defensive front setup. He's a young man that was as disruptive and was as, I believe he had, in terms of pass rush grade or impact, I believe he had as about as impactful a season as there could be at the University of Louisville. As I can remember since maybe an Elvis Doomerville. And I know that's huge praise, and I know that Louisville's had some very good players since then. But just in terms of a down-in, down-out play wrecker, Cleve Lubin is about as good. If you guys can remember anybody who's been better than him, I'd love to hear from you, 502-414-1450. You can give me one on the on the Game Day Men's Health text line. I would love to hear it. But to me, Cleve Lubin was about as disruptive a down. Like, there have been guys that were really good on certain downs, and would be big play guys when it was time to rush the quarterback. Like AJ Green, to me, is as talented as AJ is. AJ Green is not necessarily an every down impact type guy, but when it's time to rush the quarterback, like third down specialist type guy, it feels like he's really good on those downs. And Louisville's very lucky to have him back as well. I did not expect that. But Cleve just seems like every down he's in the backfield or making a big play. And I haven't, you can talk about Sheldon Rankins maybe, who was, of course, just a down-in, down-out terror. But there have been very few guys that I can think of that have worn that Louisville, jersey on the defensive side that just in terms of pure ability to just wreak havoc on the other team's offense every play. Cleve is about as good as I can remember. Here's him talking about other guys that have been great pass rushers at the University of Louisville.
Well, first off, you're the best dressed out here. So I appreciate it. My question for you, Louisville, we've had a great tradition of pass rushers recently, guys like Ashton Gelati. Have you kind of leaned into that at all and reached out to some of those former U of L players?
So me and Ashton have a pretty good relationship. I talk to Ashton every once in a while, so that's a good relationship to have. I haven't really been able to tap in with like Yaya and them, but it's definitely a blessing to like continue that trajectory. You know what I mean? And that was another reason why I came. It was just like when you looked at Louisville, their defense has always been really good, and then you look at the edge rushers that they've been able to produce on, and even outside just Louisville with Kalafdis at Purdue with this staff. So I just felt like they could bring my game to another level and continue to develop me to where I want to be within the success they had with other guys.
Absolutely. Awesome.
And shout out to the Cardinal Companion guys over there, asking some great questions during ACC Media Days. But, you talk about Ashton Gelati, who was definitely a play wrecker, a guy who got held just about every other play. Yaya Diaby, who was a guy who I felt was, excellent in the run game and very, very good as a pass rusher. And I personally feel like Cleve Lubin was disruptive than more disruptive than both those guys. And Gelati started a lot of games for the Kansas City Chiefs last year and took a lot of snaps for the Chiefs. We know what Yaya has done with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in my personal opinion, I feel like last year, Cleve Lubin was better than both of those guys. In my personal opinion. And you all can disagree with me if you want to, or if you think I'm crazy. I'd love to hear from you. But to me, Cleve in his first year was better than both of those guys. So to come over from Coastal Carolina and immediately have that type of impact was just unbelievable. So for him to decide, instead of, taking my numbers, you already put good tape out there. You've already put great film out there. You were going to probably be an edge rusher that was taken in the first 2 to 3 rounds of the draft. For him to say, I understand I have great momentum. I know I can put great numbers out there, but I'm going to come back and do it again and try to get even, go even further with the University of Louisville. I think that was you want to talk about, I know Isaac Brown is by far the most important retention guy, without a doubt. But to me, the fact that you were able to get Cleve Lubin back for a second season was unexpected. and just an unbelievable coup for the University of Louisville. That young man is special. And I think that he has an opportunity to be one of the best defensive players in all of college football last year. When you talk about, the Nagurski Award, you talk about, name your defensive, best defensive lineman in the country, whatever you want to talk about. I think that Cleve Lubin is going, by the end of the year, he's going to be up for all of those awards. I think that he did a great job of putting himself on the map this past year. I think that he's going to get a lot of love in terms of preseason All ACC, potential preseason All American, or at least, players of interest coming into this year in college football. And I think he's going to have the production to where he's going to be up for all types of awards at the end of this year. I think he's one of the guys. There's a lot of things where I say I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm worried about what's going to happen and where Louisville's going to be. But one guy I don't worry about is Cleve. Like that young man, after showing me what he showed me last year, he's only going to be better. And just the fact that he could be better than what he was last year, it's got to get you excited. I tell you what, we're going to go ahead. We're going to get to our top of the hour break. When we come back on the other end, we have much, much more to get into. I'm sure we'll have Jay Haas checking in as well. So excited to talk to him. We're going to have much more to discuss. We got NBA Summer League going on. We got guys basically showing everything they need and getting shut down. We have that and much, much more happening. Yeah, this is Wake Up 502, Raashaan Myers, and we'll be back on the Big X. And welcome back in hour number 2, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Big X Sports Radio is going down on a beautiful Saturday morning here in the Ville. Raashaan Myers taking care of you this morning. And I do want to just remind you guys that we are going to have a big-time event upcoming, Bourbon Barbecue and Mayhem, 2 days at Bluegrass Harley-Davidson, August 28th and 29th. Fights are on the 29th. I'm going to have 6 pit masters and chefs there that are going to cook samples of their own take on Southern barbecue both nights. Plus, our bourbon partners will have specialty cocktails for you to try. Best part of it all is that you can eat both nights. Friday night, we are having a band. Saturday night, of course, we're having boxing. Feature a co-main event of Tim Mayhem Moden fighting for the ABO heavyweight title, as well as Jonell Sin Bull Taylor. Make sure you get your tickets at bourbonbarbecuemayhem.com and save 10% on any ticket package with promo code SINBULL26. That is SINBULL 26. So make sure you check that out for much, much more about all those great things upcoming. We got, I'm super, super excited about that. I'm super, super excited just about, all the things that we have going on. So much happening. The summer is winding down. It's just one of those things where we are very much blessed in this area just to have so many great events going on. So many things that just happen that just continue to keep a focus on that. Of course, we have Louisville TBT going down today. So we're going to talk about that, coming up. Louisville versus Kentucky, the age-old rivalry once again renewed. That. And then, of course, you know what? The other thing that we always talk about is Jay Has on the line. Jay Has checking in with us. Good morning, Jay. How are you doing, brother?
Good morning, Raashaan Myers. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well, brother. It's Saturday morning. It's nice out, no rain in the sky. So, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing fine. So there's no rain. Actually, looks like
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Jay, tell me what's going on with you. I know you've been getting excited about everything that's going to be upcoming, in February. In February, coming around for Labor Day, getting ready for all of that in Nashville. Is your focus on right now? Are you watching summer league games? You watching basketball? Michael Brown? What you got that's got your attention right now?
Well, I like the NBA. I love it. It's 5 games that they actually play.
Yes. You got the 4. Everybody has a guaranteed 4 games. They get a 5th game as well, but they play for the Summer League Championship, I guess, Saturday and Monday. It'll be upcoming.
Yeah.
So they'll have semifinal games today and the championship on Monday.
Well, I've been watching the kids. I've been watching other guys, former guys with Louisville and other players from other colleges. And this is interesting summer league. This summer league.
Oh yeah. It's been a high-level basketball, man. It seems like there's been a whole lot of good basketball being played.
Yes, sir. Raashaan, I tell you, always interesting in coming into 96.1 and Wake Up 502 Sports Show. I got some late-breaking news about something, Raashaan.
Oh, really? I like it when you bring news to the table, Jay. What you got for us this morning?
Man, Louisville's won, 3 NFL championship games. Is that correct?
You said Louisville has won 3 NFL championship games?
Well, I'm going to break it real quick. I'm doing some things right now. Louisville's on the basketball team. This is it, a 1980 championship basketball game.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's a movie that's been taking place by John Ham. He's playing Coach Denny Trump. And it's going to be shown all over the country, man.
Oh, really? So there's going to be a movie being done about the 80 championship?
Yes, sir.
Really? Oh, boy. Okay. Now that is something I can get down with. So it's going to be about Griffin Crew, huh?
Yeah, so all about Griffin.
Okay.
Man. So nobody else is really good in sports station owner was not even known nothing about this yet.
Hey, I like that. You know what? That's big time breaking news this Saturday morning. So you got it's going to be, I guess, a documentary about the 80 championship squad.
That's correct.
Okay.
And just flipping the paper, later week, it's going to be a fabulous one, September the 6th, Louisville, going on the Michigan State against Ole Miss, number 14 team in the country. And this football team is going to be on fire. And then you got, at 4:30, you got Louisville volleyball playing against Texas in Nashville as well.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the 6th to get here. It's coming up quick too, Jay. I mean, we're only 2 weeks from football practice getting started, Jay. So I mean, we're literally right around the corner.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm ready to go, baby.
I know you are. You've been excited. You've been talking about Nashville. I'm excited for it. We want to see what these dudes have. They were out there ACC Media Days talking about everything that's going to happen this year. Jeff Brom was out there, Jay, Clev Lubin, Lincoln Keenholz, Lance Robinson as well. What's the most thing that's got you excited about Louisville football, Jay? Like what type of season are you expecting for them to have? Like, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't really know what Louisville's going to be this year, but I know a lot of people are excited and hyped about what Jeff Brom can do. Like, how are you feeling about it?
Man, I tell you one thing. It's going to be much most fastest football team Louisville's ever had in receiving core and running back. And I wait to see about this quarterback. Yeah,
same. Yeah, Lincoln Keenholz, that's the guy, right? Like, to me, Jay, he's the most important guy out there. Like, what he's going to do. Like, do you think he's kind of the biggest factor?
He's a major factor. Quarterback is the main person on that football field. I'm excited about that. I'm giving this team number 11-1 the most.
Okay. I'd love to see it. 11-1, they'll be in the playoff, Jay.
Yes, sir. You're correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well,
man, right out of the way for Louisville right there.
There you go. Hey, I like it. I would love to see it. The ACC has gone to this kind of unbalanced schedule thing this year. So some of the teams will be playing 8 games. Other teams will be playing 9 games, I believe. Or it's something weird about the schedule this year. So it's very weird. I've heard that the way the ACC is set up this year, Jay, that because of the who plays who in the conference this season, there could be up to 4 undefeated teams in conference. So kind of weird. So, all you can do is take care of the business that you can, right? Like, you go out there, you win every game, they can't take it away from you, right?
That's correct, sir.
There you go.
I just want to do a little to wake up for the sports show, and I see on Raashaan Myers. Appreciate you, brother. You're the best, always the best. You and Haven, you guys do what you do, man. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Only way to go. Wake up 5:02.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jay. Have a good one, brother. We'll chat with you next time.
Yes, sir.
There we go. One of the best to ever do it. Jay Hash checking in this morning and breaking some news. A documentary about the 80 championship team. I did not know that was happening, but the get to hear about Griff and the crew over there. I would love to watch that. So I will definitely be keeping an ear out for that. And look, you all are getting information and news on a Saturday morning. So nobody else is getting that. So Jay Haas knows so many people and talks to so many people that, he always has the goods. So there's no telling who gave him the insights on that, but I cannot wait to hear about it. And I do also want to let you guys know and remember that the Feet First store in Jeffersonville is helping Kentuckiana move better and feel better every day. If you're dealing with plantar fasciitis, knee pain, back pain, or you spend all day on your feet at work, they have you covered. Their personally fitted orthotic system is designed to improve balance, alignment, and overall comfort. Athletes can see better stability and performance, and everyday workers get the relief they need to keep going strong. Schedule your appointment by calling 812-725-0208 or visit feetfirststore.com. That is FEET1ST store.com. To book online. You can find Feet First Store at 2781 Jefferson Center Way in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Check out my man Chris Cannon. Tell him that Wake Up 502 and Raashaan Myers sent you over there. Tell him you heard about him on the radio, and they'll definitely make sure to take care of you. So, I am just trying to, make sure that you get that. I am a person who has dealt with, I play basketball, right? So I'm out there on the court all the time, and Chris was able to get me some orthotics to help me, be more efficient out there to correct some of the issues that I was having, and it's been amazing. So, Chris knows his stuff. He's very, very good at what he does. So just make sure you go out there and check out my man Chris Cannon over there at the Feet First store. But, we have so many things going on, man. It's so much happening in the world of just Louisville athletics. Like I talked about previously, Michael Brown and the Brooklyn Nets have been out there trying to put their best foot forward in the summer league. He's been outstanding, and of course the Nets have been very cautious with Michael and tried to bring him along slowly. He only played one game at the California Classic. He played, he's only played in, I believe, 2 games in Vegas. So, they're kind of taking their time with him. He had the back issues last year, so they want to make sure that he stays healthy. But in the time that he's been out there, he's been very, very good. I got to watch him get out there, get into the lane, be very physical. Now, he had a bit of a hard time in his last time out. They played against the Houston Rockets, a team that has just a ton of big, physical, or I won't say necessarily big, but very physical guards, guys that are going to get into you. And Michael, we saw that physicality bother him, right? Like he was, I believe, 1 for 9 shooting from 3 in that game. And that physicality kind of got him out and discouraged him from consistently driving to the rim and settled for a lot of perimeter jump shots. Now, he still did have a pretty strong game. I think he had like 16 points, maybe 3 or 4 assists. But that right there is probably where he's going to have to continue to grow, and he's going to continue to have to get better, is having to deal with the physicality of the game. He's a very young guy. He definitely still needs to put some weight on. But for him, the biggest step that he's going to have to take is understanding that when guys are being physical with you and they're getting up in you and they're not allowing you to get comfortable, the step back, double step back 3 is not the answer. What you want to do is you want to meet that physicality, get through, and attack the paint, force those guys into foul trouble, get into the lane, and then what happens is the more you attack the basket, then those guys will back off with you, and that's when you'll be able to get your shots from the perimeter. And I think that's going to be, for him, the biggest hurdle. Is going to have to be dealing with that physicality, because once you get to the real NBA and you get, right now you're in a summer league situation, so you're not dealing with the amount of athletes and experienced, perimeter defenders. The book's going to be out on you to where, if you're physical with this guy, that discourages him from being dynamic with the ball in his hands. That forces him into, I don't want to deal with this. Let me opt for the step back jumper or the pull up 35-footer and things of that nature, rather than having to deal with the pounding and the physicality. And that's kind of the biggest thing, especially for young guys coming into the NBA. That's what they have to deal with most. And I think that's where Michael's going to have to grow. But he still put on very well. These young guys, Caleb Wilson's been absolutely outstanding for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, we know what A.J. DeBonta is, and, the type of player he was for the Wizards. He was outstanding. Of course, Darren Peterson was good. I would say that he was great. For Darren Peterson, he was another guy that seemed like the physicality bothered him a bit. So he's going to have to just continue to work on that. I think he dealt with it a little bit better. He definitely likes to get into the lane, so he was not as discouraged, but I do think that physical on-ball pressure kind of bothered him a little bit. But there's been a lot of guys that, Keaton Wagler looked like a lot more like your typical draft pick where he didn't necessarily come out and dominate early and kind of got bothered with the physicality, but he's gotten better and better as the summer league has gone on. He had his best game last night, 26 points, I believe 4 assists, did a little bit of everything, but seemed to get more comfortable with the physicality because, of course, Wagler is a bigger guy, at 6'6". He's going to be someone who should be able to take that punishment and, shake off that physicality and really get into his shots, get into his mid-ranges, his pull-ups, things of that nature. So it's good for him to see him get off the schneid a little bit. But there's been a lot of outstanding performances in NBA Summer League. I've been very, very entertained with that. So, I had to give you guys an update on that. Big news for Ryan Conwell. The Miami Heat shut him down, which is awesome to hear. I know that, sometimes you hear they shut him down and look at it as in bad terms. But for Ryan Conwell, the fact that the Miami Heat said that they've seen enough of him in Summer League, they want to go ahead and save him up and preserve him for the season. That's super, super exciting. It sounds like he's going to for sure be a part of the Miami Heat, team, and he's going to be a part of what's going on down there in South Beach. So they actually shut him down to bring him on back to Miami to start getting ready for the season. He was very, very good, averaging over 20 points per game in his 4 Summer League appearances, shot the ball well, showed the ability to play on the ball and off the ball, which is something that I think people were surprised with, is how good he was on the ball and running the team as a point guard, as a secondary kind of ball handler distributor. And that's really where he made his hay. His build, his physical size and toughness mixed with his quickness really, really gave teams problems. So shout out to Ryan Conwell. I know that both Isaac McNeely and Javon Hadley have, had their moments as well. Hadley with the Heat as well as McNeely with the Atlanta Hawks. So, Louisville has shown very, very well in this summer league. I know Malik Williams, who is supposed to be playing with the Louisville TBT. I was watching Malik last night in Vegas playing for the Chicago Bulls. I'll be very interested to see if he takes the court this afternoon against Kentucky. He is scheduled to be on that roster versus La Familia. That's going to be coming up. Game 1 in Historic Memorial Coliseum is going to be on Fox today at 12 noon. So that game is going to be coming up on Fox, noon tip-off. La Familia versus the Ville. This is going to be a 3-game series, though. This is not one and done, y'all. So it's going to be a best of 3. So whoever gets the game today is definitely going to have a leg up. UK happened to get the first game, so we'll have to see what happens. It's a winner-take-all $2 million prize for the winner. So they've kind of upped the pool of money, the prize money. I believe every year before it's been $1 million winner-take-all. So now they've upped it to $2 million, and they're going to be broadcast on Fox. So getting to see Russ Smith and the fellas out there against Willie Cauley-Stein. Willie Cauley-Stein has already announced that this is basically going to be his last go, his last go around. Playing for La Familia this year is going to be it for him. He's going to go ahead and hang it up and retire after this. So La Familia is trying to go with the whole let's win it for Willie. But there's a lot of issues going on with La Familia right now. There was an announcement that Archie Goodwin, of course, he was supposed to be a part of the La Familia roster. He's announced that he's not going to be able to be there. Quade Green, at the last second, former point guard for University of Kentucky, he's pulled out of the event as well. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on. It was announced kind of late in the roster building for University of Louisville, or for the Ville, that Montrezl Harrell was going to come back and be a part of this event as well. So we'll see what Trez can bring to the table. So Louisville's got a lot of guys. Louisville's got a lot of guys that have played a lot of basketball. The team did not get younger. I was hoping that they were going to get a little bit younger. I was hoping a guy like Rain Smith, somebody who was like a big-time shooter could have been a part of this, but they still have a lot of athleticism. They still have a lot of really good players, guys like David Johnson out there. But, I'm gonna be honest with you. The reason that the Ville has had the issues that they've had, because they've had a lot of talent, they've had good enough size, they've had good enough physicality, but the biggest thing that they have not had is good shooting. They've not been able to shoot the ball. Russ Smith has not been able to really score at the clip that he's been accustomed to. Guys have not been knocking down shots, and I know they're bringing in some veterans like Angel Nunez, who was at Louisville for a couple of years but never really impacted. They of course have Edgar Sosa coming in, and Edgar Sosa's a little long in the tooth, but somebody's going to hit jump shots, fellas. If you all want to win, and if you all want to go deep in this and have a chance to win that $2 million prize, you got to be able to shoot the ball. It's just too important. That's a thing. So we'll get to see first game on Fox today, Louisville TBT. So make sure you check that out. But of course, 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. We're going to take your text and your thoughts this morning. Of course, I want to continue to hear from you. Of course, we were talking about Louisville football early on, Jeff Brom's comments, and we do have Q checking in on X. Thank you so much for listening, Q. Appreciate you. He said Chris Bell had 75 catches, I believe. Probably would have hit 80 had he not gotten hurt against SMU. No, that's a good point. Chris Bell getting hurt against SMU definitely kind of took the starch out of his sails. That's fair. He would have reached that 80 catch plateau and could have probably gotten close on the 10 touchdowns. So no, that's absolutely fair. Chris Bell, his season being cut short by the injury, definitely. You had the SMU game. You had you missed you get hurt versus SMU. You missed the Kentucky game. You don't have the bowl game, which I don't know if Chris Bell would have played in the bowl game, but yeah, I agree with you. He definitely would have gotten the catches had he not gotten hurt. Don't know if he would have got to the 10 touchdowns, but he did have 6 touchdowns on the season, so there's a possibility. He definitely could have gotten there. Q also said, question about, Brom's thoughts on Trey Richardson. He said, is it because Trey is that good or because our second and third options aren't that great? That's a good question. Is it just going to be a situation where Louisville basically has to just throw it to Trey every time because the rest of you guys suck? I don't think that's the case. Like, Louisville has a lot of weapons. Okay, I don't think this is going to be a give the ball to Trey because none of our wide receivers are any good. Like, Trayshawn Hurry, in my personal opinion, is a lot better than what he got the opportunity to show. As Coach Brom said, he kind of played behind Chris Bell in that same position, so he just did not get the opportunities. I think that Trayshawn Hurry is really good. I think he has really good hands. I thought he played very well once because he was kind of slowed by injury early in the year last year, and by the time he got healthy, it just felt like he was already kind of into that secondary role as a reserve. But in the bowl game, I thought he did really, really well. I thought he did really, really well in the Kentucky game at the end of the year. He seems like a guy who's very sure-handed. I don't know if he's necessarily a burner, but he is definitely a guy who I feel can be that possession receiver that plays over the middle of the field, doesn't mind taking that hit going across the middle versus safeties and linebackers. So I think that he's very, very good. And LaWayne McCoy, they talked about him, the 6'5" receiver transfer from Florida State. I think LaWayne McCoy has a lot of talent. I think that he's a guy who can be very, very good. You talk about Collins, the young man who transferred from Clemson last year. I thought that he was very good on the outside as kind of your perimeter deep threat with size. I thought Collins did a pretty good job. He was not as consistent as I would have liked. I think that LaWayne McCoy can be that same type of target, long arms, athletic, can really, really jump. But I think that he can be very, very good on that other side. I like his athleticism. I like his build. You would think at his size, he should be a really good threat in the red zone as well. He can give you size. So no, I think that, Trey Richardson is going to have some help. I love the tight ends as well. Of course, we've been waiting for Jaleel Skinner to kind of live up to what he was coming out of high school and as a top end prospect at the University of Miami. decided to transfer to the University of Louisville. He's been here a couple of years, and he's had moments. I thought that he was solid last year, as that number 2 tight end, but never really got the opportunity to be the man. So we'll see. I know they also brought in one of the top pass catchers in the portal as well, and Brody. Is it for Brody Foyle or I can't remember Foley, Foley is his last name. I can't remember his first name, but they brought over Foley from the transfer portal, who is one of the best tight ends in the portal. You bring back Jaleel Skinner. I think you have a couple of sure-handed wide receivers outside of Trey Richardson. You still have Isaac Brown, who can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. I think that it's going to be still a very well balanced offense. I don't believe this is going to be a situation where, Keen Holmes is going to be every snap just looking to get the ball to Trey. But I do think that Trey's going to see the bulk of the catches just because he's that dynamic of a player, and because you don't have that kind of incumbent in Chris Bell. I think that Trey Richardson is going to be closer to what we thought Colin Lacey was going to be last year. I think that people thought that probably Colin Lacey, especially with what he did the year before he got hurt against Notre Dame, that they felt like Colin Lacey was just going to be the man that just goes out there and gets 80, 90 catches. But Chris Bell was just so good, he just kind of took over as that number 1 guy. I think that we're going to see Trey Richardson be what we thought Colin Lacey was going to be last year, and I think that he's going to live up to that. So, I mean, super, super exciting. I think that Louisville football has a lot to, that they have a lot to live up to, but I think that he can, I think that he can be very, very good. Texter in 502-414-1450, Game Day Men's Health text line. Text in says, I love the quick hitting information of your show. It said James has to speak up, or Jay. And said, can this guy ever use a landline phone? Yeah, sometimes Jay's phone gets a little rough, but he's in the radio station, so working at the radio station, he'll have stuff going on in the background over there. So yeah, sorry about that. But I appreciate the thoughts, and I appreciate the kind words. We try to, we are Wake Up 502, and the reason I chose this slot for my show Saturday mornings, I wanted this to be kind of a recap of the week. I wanted it to be kind of everything that's going on in local athletics of interest to the folks in the area. I didn't talk much about the World Cup. Team USA went out there and just completely wet the bed. And like I said, so that was never a big thing for me. I know Argentina's going to be playing Spain in the final. Who's going to win? I don't know. I don't care. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just not a big guy for that. But I try to be that setup for the weekend, right? Like, I just want to get out there and get you guys all the information that you need heading into the weekend. So I definitely appreciate you listening. I appreciate you being a part of the broadcast. So just thank you so much for that, for all of your thoughts and well wishes. When we come back, I'm going to get into a little bit. I was doing a little bit of scouting. Y'all know that's where I kind of made my hay in media, was in the scouting side, scouting basketball prospects primarily for the University of Louisville. That's kind of where I made my hay. Well, I did some scouting of a upcoming Louisville basketball player. So I'm going to tell you what I saw on film from him, my thoughts on that, and much, much more. Continue to send your text in 502-414-1450. That is the Game Day Men's Health text line. We're also taking your thoughts on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. So definitely get those in. We got one more segment upcoming. This is Raashaan Myers. This is Wake Up 502, and we'll be back on the Big X. Welcome back in. Last segment of the show, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, WXVW, better known as Big X Sports Radio. Just super, super excited to be in this morning and super, super excited to share some of the things that I do on a weekend. Y'all wonder, how does Raashaan spend his time? And I told you that, of course, I look at movies and I catch up on my shows and watch my anime. I'm a big anime guy, so shout out Naruto and shout out Jujutsu Kaisen and all those things. Like, I watch my anime, I watch my shows, I watch my movies. I will be going to see The Odyssey, by the way. I'm hearing great things about Christopher Nolan's just major motion picture. So I will be checking that out. But one of the things that I like to do to keep connected, I know that I watch all my NBA Summer League and all that stuff, but there are always new players for the University of Louisville basketball team. They catch my eye, right? So I have to talk about and I have to do review, and I try to find information on those guys wherever I can find it. And one of the most intriguing players that really caught my eye and just, I've been super interested in has been Boyang Zhang, the 6'9", I know that, I'm going to call him guard, 6'9" guard, because Coach Kelsey calls him a guard. So 6'9" guard from China, played at Veritas Academy in his 1 year in the United States after coming over, playing for the Chinese national teams, U17, U18, U19 squads. Ton of international experience. Very intriguing prospect. He has been heavily featured in a lot of your University of Louisville kind of preseason hype videos that we've seen. We've seen Bo, on the court. We've seen Bo in the off-court videos. He just seems to have been a central figure. And because of that, I wanted to go out there and look at some film of Bo and just see what I wanted to see long form. I don't want to see highlights, right? Like, anybody can look good in highlights. Like, I could go out there and put a highlight tape together of me in the gym, right? And make me look like I'm all world. So anybody can look good during highlights. But I wanted to see him in the gym playing full games. And I had found some tape of him at Veritas Academy, but didn't necessarily like the Veritas film just because Veritas Academy was a team with not a lot of talent. Let's just be honest about it. They allowed Bo to come in there and just basically just gave the ball to him and just let him go. But it was a team that you could tell didn't have a ton of structure, and it was pretty much just kind of give the ball to Bo and get out of the way. So Bojan just basically was getting double and triple team most of the time and had to settle for shooting a lot of shots and shooting a lot of shots from the perimeter. To his credit, he did he did score 20 points per game, gave you 4 or 5 rebounds, 2 or 3 assists, on solid numbers. Didn't shoot it great, because he was dealing with so much pressure. So I wanted to see him in a more structured situation. And I wanted to see him playing in where he was not the central focus of the team. So I was able to go out there and find some tape of him from the 2025 U19 World Championships, playing for China. And yes, you can find all these things on YouTube. So I went out there and found Bo's team and found, thankfully FIBA really does a great job of, recording and posting all of their games. So anytime there's international prospects, as long as they played in some league that wasn't like, if they played FIBA competition and in FIBA tournaments, those games are out there. So shout out to them for that. But I was able to watch 3 games of Bo yesterday, actually, where I got to watch him out there playing with the Chinese U19 team last year. So at this point, I believe Bo would have been, I think he may have just turned 17 years old at that point. I don't think he was 16, but he was one of the youngest guys in the event. U19, means that you're playing with guys, pretty much 18, 19 years old for the most part. And I think Bo was 16 or just turned 17. So he was a couple of years younger than most of the guys that he was playing with. So didn't start for the Chinese team. Came off the bench in those games. But it was very interesting to watch him because once he got in the game, like there were guys that were his senior that started over him, but Bo was clearly one of the most skilled guys on the team. And once he got into the game, the Chinese team did a lot to run him down. And to see a guy at his size that, you know, is 6'8", 6'9" type guy that you're running off pin down screens, you know, you're starting him low, taking the screen to come high to catch the ball over a brush screen. So he's kind of catching it and able to pull up or looking to ISO and really get downhill. And the thing that I saw that was really interesting about Bo as a prospect was for a guy his size, you don't expect him to move the way he moves. And I think that's where this Louisville team is going to be so interesting because Bo is a guy that is a just devastating combination of size and skill. And when I say devastating, I'm not saying that he's a finished product by far, but he's the type of guy who's going to be a matchup nightmare because, you know, at a true 6'9" in shoes, he's going to have, you know, because he plays on the perimeter, he's normally going to have a smaller guy on him. And I think the thing that I loved the most about the film that I watched, it wasn't necessarily his shot, though he is known as a very good shooter. Didn't shoot it great when I watched him. Had some open looks, did not knock them down. But he's known as a shooter. I mean, everybody at every level has talked about his ability to shoot the ball. But I think his biggest value, first of all, he's very physical in the paint. He's aggressive going for rebounds. He's aggressive defending. Moves his feet very well on that end of the court for a guy that is his size. But the thing that I was kind of taken aback by and that I really loved and the thing that I think that he can really lean into as a freshman at the University of Louisville is being a guy at his size who can straight line drive and really be physical, handling the ball, getting into the paint, being able to get to a floater, being able to get to a pull-up, being able to finish through contact at the rim. At his size, he's going to be able to take mismatches and really make guys pay. And I think the dynamic that both he and Alvaro Fulgaris are going to give Louisville in terms of having quote-unquote plus-size ball handlers. Like, we saw what Ali Khalifa was able to do as a passer, as a big man on the perimeter, and some of the issues that he caused. I think that Bo and Alvaro are going to give you some of that because they are bigger. Ali was about 6'11", maybe 7 foot. Bo goes 6'9", Alvaro 6'11". So they're going to give you some of those things as far as being a guy who's taller, who can make good passes, entry passes, and passes to cutters from the perimeter. But I think that what they're going to do and the aspect that Ali was not really able to take as much advantage of is that the ability to take the ball off the bounce and do something with it. Being able to, when you have a big guy or bigger guys, bigger stature guys, when you're talking about 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", when you're talking about guys in that size category that are really adept handling the basketball and really good off the bounce, they cause problems because against big men just aren't used to having to move their feet on the perimeter. So that's a issue. They pick up easy fouls like that when you get them off balance and you get them going side to side and then you can attack. But then also against smaller guards, if you're able to protect the basketball and get downhill quickly, it's very difficult to stop guys like that getting to the rim. And I think that those are the things that are going to really be a different dynamic for Louisville. Louisville, has pretty much been basically two ball handlers, right, that can really get downhill. First year it was Fat Edwards and Chucky Hepburn. Last year it was pretty much Ryan Conwell and Michael Brown with a little bit of Adrian Woolley thrown in there. But, none of those guys really had the physical size. When I'm talking about physical drivers, guys that, you hoped could be what Cason Pryor could have done as a bigger guy that can also put the ball on the deck. because they tend to draw a lot of fouls and tend to put a lot of pressure on the defense to help. And then, of course, that help leads to wide open shots for guys on the perimeter. And I think that's what Louisville's going to have, because not only are you going to have Bo, who I thought was very good off the bounce and gets there quickly and looks for the contact, which I did not expect from him. I think Alvaro Fulgaris is going to bring that, and I think that Carter Knox has shown that he is a physical driver of the basketball at 6'6", 6'7". And I think that that's going to be the dynamic from the wing and from the non-guard spots that Louisville has not had in their first 2 years under Pat Kelsey, and that's going to be the dimension that they add, is having big physical guys from the perimeter that are good off the bounce. And that advantage and what that gives you in terms of spacing and in terms of putting pressure on the defense to help is going to be something that's going to lead to much better offense. It's going to lead to much better shots, opportunities from the perimeter. It's going to lead to better offensive rebounding, because if you have big guys going hard to the basket, that leaves offensive rebounding lanes open for guys, with big time rebounding motors, like a Flory Badunga, like an Obina Akizi. Those guys are going to be able to feast on that. And even Gabe Dines is very aggressive going after offensive rebounds. So I am just super, super excited for what Bo can be. Like, I know that people have talked about his ability to shoot the ball and his ability to stretch the floor, but the biggest thing I saw from him is just IQ, right? Like, his IQ and his processing of the game at his size, his ability to see the floor, to pass the ball, how hard he plays, how aggressive he is, and how good he was off the bounce. Like, he's not a finished product, but he has those intangibles. And when you have guys that are big and skilled, those are very difficult things to teach, and those are things that are immediately transferable. So while I don't know how good of a shooter he's going to be straight off the jump, being a freshman, I think that it may take a while for the shooting to come around, just because that's the toughest thing to translate over, because guys tend to get a lot more tired more quickly, and as your feet go, it really hurts your shooting, because you just don't get a good base, you don't get the follow through. That's the most difficult thing. Conditioning at the college level is going to be different, but I do think that something that Bo's going to be able to bring from day one is just his ability to attack with size and his ability to use his size. The fact that he's a willing rebounder, he's a willing defender, he's a guy that doesn't mind throwing his weight around in the paint, even as a big guard. I think that that's going to be the biggest difference in Louisville basketball this year, is that they have a lot more guys that are willing to and want to trade paint inside and in the in the box, right? Like, Louisville hasn't been an in the box team its first 2 years under Pat Kelsey. And they really just wanted to really put that pressure from the perimeter. I think that the first year under Pat Kelsey, Louisville was more of an execution-based team, right? Like, play hard on defense, make things tough on defense, but offense is really about execution and just trying to just execute you to death, to where you're running almost 30 seconds off the shot clock and wearing out the defense to get a good shot. But on the other end, it's about being tough and being physical. Last year, it was more about, let's be fast. Let's get as many threes up as we can. Try to get the score up into the 80s, up into the 90s, and then play good enough defense to win games. This year, I think that it's going to be about, let's be physical defensively. Let's get to the rim if we can. Let's create good shots. Let's be fast in transition when we can do that. If we can't do that, let's look to get it inside, or then let's execute and get a good shot. I think that this is going to be definitely the most multiple team that Louisville's had under Pat Kelsey. I think this team is going to be the most versatile. I think that they're going to have the ability to play several different styles and be comfortable in that. And I think that's going to make this Louisville team much, much more difficult. But those are just a few of the things that I saw, and I just thought about when I saw how Bo played with the Chinese U19 squad and how those skills translate over. So, just a few thoughts there. Other things that I thought were interesting. Indiana Hoosiers are they played some games in Knights Hall in their pregame prep, getting ready to play some games down in the Bahamas or in the Virgin Islands. They're going somewhere to play some teams as a the USA representative in an international tournament. They did not show the games on TV. They played the Canadian national team. I'm not sure which Canadian national team they played, but they played one of the Canadian national teams. The game was, this past Wednesday, and I was hoping to see that. Like, to me, if the Indiana Hoosiers are this big basketball factor, you would think that anytime that the Hoosiers step on the court, that there's going to be some sort of stream or there's going to be some way to watch that game. The fact that they did not get that game on TV speaks to me that the Hoosiers are not as nearly as maybe they're a football school now. Maybe because they won a national championship, they don't care about that anymore. But I was very disappointed with that. Any college basketball that I can see and I can check out, especially for teams of local interest, and the Hoosiers are a team of local interest. I would have loved to be able to see that. Hopefully, we'll be able to watch their games once they get this international tournament started, so I can check those guys out. I also noticed that University of Kentucky, they posted a quote-unquote winners board from their 2026 workouts this past Monday. And they were basically ranking, I guess, the efficiency that they had, their winners, their efficiency winners, and who got the guys that were at the top of that list. And then they had the protect the ball guys. Right. So I just happened to notice that, of course, as you would think in terms of, winners, you're going to have Milan Momcilovic at the top of the list. I thought it was interesting that, of course, you would expect Milan there. You would expect Zoom Diallo to be there. But there were some guys up there that I did not think would be that high that were. And some guys that were, notably lower than I would have expected, like guys who were near the middle to lower end of winners. I saw Malachi Moreno down there at the middle. Alex Wilkins was down there. Those are two guys that are expected to be super, super big contributors, but for those guys to be in kind of the bottom half was kind of odd to me. Mason Williams was a lot higher than what I expected. He came in fifth. Jerome Morton was fourth. So a little interesting there, but the one thing that really caught my eye was the protect the ball ratings. And I don't know what all goes into the protect the ball ratings. Maybe it's purely based on turnovers or whatever, but the protect the ball ratings, Trent Noah was at the near the top. Zion Harmon, I think the young man's name, was at the very top. Reese Potter was up there near the top. Milan Momcilovic was up there near the top. But you know who was at the very bottom in terms of protecting the ball? Zoom Diallo and Alex Wilkins. And Kentucky fans got mad at me for saying this. That's fine and good with all the guys up top that, are taking care of the basketball. But your starting backcourt, the two guys that are probably going to have the ball in their hands the most, were the two worst in terms of taking care of the ball. Like, that is bad, right? Like, I understand that their usage rates are going to be high, so they're going to have the ball in their hands a lot. But if they're your two primary ball handlers, do you really want them being the two worst in terms of turning the ball over on your entire roster? Like, that's just crazy, right? Like, Kentucky fans got mad at me and said I didn't understand the way usage rate works, that they're going to turn the ball over more because they have the ball in their hands more. And I'm like, well, yes, they're going to turn the ball over because they have the ball in their hands, have the ball in their hands more. But, like, the efficiency rating for a ball handler is like assist to turnover ratio. So, like, yes, they're going to turn the ball over, but they should have a higher assist rate. And you would think that assist rate or assist percentage would factor into this protect the ball rating. Like, I don't think it should be just purely turnovers. But I don't know. Like, all I thought is just that it was weird that was what those two guys were at the bottom of the list. So, Kentucky fans say that we're just continuing to just make things up and they can't wait for the game coming up December 12th or whatever it is. But all I can say is that it's a little questionable, Kentucky. I don't know. We'll see. But I tell you what, y'all, we're going to be coming up. Louisville TVT is going to be coming up soon. Make sure you guys check that out. Thank you so much for listening to me. This is Raashaan Myers for Wake Up 502, and we'll be back next week. Appreciate you guys for listening.